At the edge of the Arizona desert, where the sun scorched cracked earth and silence stretched for miles, a lone figure arrived every morning before the heat set in. Madison Brooks was easy to miss. Short, slim, blonde hair tied in a no-nonsense braid, wearing faded jeans and a plain gray t-shirt. Her pickup was rusted, her boots worn, and her expression unreadable. She didn't come to socialize. She came to shoot. Frank Mitchell, the range owner, had seen all types over 20 years. Rookies, weekend warriors, wannabe snipers with expensive gear. But Madison was different. She brought her own custom bolt-action rifle, wrapped in cloth like something sacred. She never asked for help, never missed a payment, and most notably, she never missed. She would set up in lane 9, farthest from others. Her targets were always placed at maximum distance, 800 yards minimum, sometimes 1,300. Her breathing was measured. She didn't just shoot, she performed a ritual. Adjust scope, scan for wind, count rhythm, fire, pause, breathe, repeat. 5 shots. 5 perfect holes clustered so tight they looked like one. Then she'd reload and start again. At first, people thought it was luck, maybe a trick rifle. But days turned to weeks, and the bullseyes kept stacking up. No one knew her story, and she never offered it. She worked nights at a truck stop diner off Interstate 10. Locals called her Quiet Madison, a ghost with a rifle. One Thursday morning, something changed. It was barely past 7 o'clock a.m. when a sleek black SUV rolled onto the gravel lot, its tinted windows and government plates turning heads. Frank leaned out of his office and narrowed his eyes. That wasn't someone from town. The driver's door opened, and out stepped a man built like controlled tension. Tall, broad-shouldered, steel-backed, gray, threading his dark hair. His boots were regulation, his movement precise. He wore civilian clothes, but anyone with experience could tell this man was elite military. Colonel Ryan Stone had seen wars on 3 continents and ghosts in his sleep. He didn't scare easily. But lately, something had been nagging him. A tip from a retired Navy SEAL. "You should check out this woman in Arizona. She doesn't talk, just shoots like she's possessed." Stone didn't believe in hype. But curiosity was a disease in men like him, so he made the trip. Now, leaning against his SUV with arms crossed, he watched Madison through dark sunglasses. She hadn't noticed him. She was in the zone. He analyzed her posture. Low profile, perfect shoulder alignment. He caught her subtle wind corrections, adjustments even trained snipers sometimes overlooked. She wasn't just good, she was instinctive. She fired 5 rounds in rapid succession, quick, fluid, surgical. The metallic clang echoed across the range. Stone walked forward as Madison stood to reload. She sensed movement and turned, her grip tightening on the rifle stock. He stopped 10 feet away. "Mind if I watch?" She studied him. Most men got uncomfortable under that stare. Stone didn't. "Free country," she replied. He moved closer, glancing at her rifle. Old but well-maintained, hand-modified, no factory parts untouched. Her scope was dialed for extreme distance. "You military?" he asked. She shook her head. "No." "Where'd you learn to shoot like that?" She looked toward distant mountains. "My dad, Army sniper, 3 tours in Afghanistan, came home and taught me everything." Stone didn't speak for a moment. He watched her reset and fire again. Perfect bullseye. He smiled faintly. "He taught you well." Stone stayed until she packed up. As she walked past, he handed her a plain business card with only GPS coordinates. "Virginia, come shoot there sometime," he said. Then he walked away. Madison looked at the card, then at the man now on a secure phone call. Something told her this wasn't the end of her story. It was the beginning. From which city in the world are you watching this video today? If this story resonates with you, consider subscribing for more tales of unrecognized heroes. Madison sat alone at the diner that night, staring at the card. Plain white, just coordinates. She tucked it into her wallet and got back to serving coffee to truckers who didn't ask questions. 3 days later, the black SUV returned. Stone positioned himself at lane 9's edge and watched her with analytical intensity. Today's wind was tricky, unpredictable bursts across the desert. But she read it like a book, waiting for the right moment. Her breathing slowed, chest rising with her heartbeat. 5 rapid shots. Ping, 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 ping. Each bullet through the exact same hole. Stone stepped forward. "Still just practice?" Madison shrugged. "Nothing else to do." Stone studied her. "You ever think about teaching others?" She raised an eyebrow. "Teaching who?" Stone crouched beside her shooting mat, picking up a brass casing. "You know what separates good shooters from legends? They adapt faster than they think. They don't rely on training. They become it." He stood. "There's a facility, off the books, where we take people who don't fit the standard mold but can do things that matter." "Why me?" "Because I've trained Navy SEALs, Delta Force, Marine Recon, and none shoot like you do. Not this natural." She hesitated. "What would I be doing?" "That depends on you. It's an evaluation. You show up, you train, you walk away if you want, but you'll never see yourself the same way." Madison didn't answer. She packed her gear and left. But she kept the card. That night, she drove deep into the desert where stars opened endlessly. She set her rifle on her truck hood and stared at constellations. Her father once told her, "Someday someone's going to see what you can do and realize what I've always known. You're not normal, Madison. You're meant for more." Was this that moment? She loaded a single round and aimed at a reflector 1,200 yards away in darkness. She breathed deep, then exhaled slowly. The shot cracked like thunder. A half-second later, the reflector exploded. By sunrise, she had decided. At 6:47 a.m., the SUV returned. But Madison wasn't in lane 9. Her spot was empty, swept clean. Inside, Frank found a note. "Gone for a while. Don't rent out lane 9. Stone answered his secure phone. "Is she coming?" He looked at the desert one last time. "Yes, she's coming." Virginia was colder than expected. The facility was buried in Appalachian hills, unmarked, surrounded by forest. No signs, no gates, just a gravel road to a checkpoint manned by silent guards. Inside the compound, everything was utilitarian. Gray walls, steel doors, training grounds with high-security fencing. No insignias, no ranks, just sharp eyes and movements. She was assigned a basic room with a note. "Assessment begins at 0500. Show up ready or don't show up." Morning came fast. Mountain air bit her face as she stepped onto the range where 12 others lined up. 11 men, 1 other woman. Most were tall, muscular, confident. Some wore unit patches, green berets, Force Recon, Pararescue. All looked at her with doubt. She didn't return their stares. Just stepped to her station, laid down her rifle, and locked in. Instructors explained rules. Hit targets from 400 to 1,500 yards, changing wind conditions. Live competition. Fastest, most accurate shooter sets the standard. Others adjusted their $15,000 precision systems. Madison used her rifle, the same one her father built with her in their Montana garage. Scratched wood, reblued barrel, handmade trigger. No electronics, just steel and discipline. First shot. Madison was second fastest. Second shot. Fastest and most accurate. Third through sixth. Clean hits through wind bursts. At 200 yards, she corrected for crosswind faster than instructors expected and hit dead center. Murmurs started. "Who is she? She shouldn't be beating us." Stone, standing behind the line with arms crossed, remained silent. Just watched. The final test was brutal. 1,530-yard shot over a hill through swirling wind with 6 seconds to identify target, calculate corrections, and fire. Madison dropped prone, analyzed terrain, read wind by watching dust move through grass. 5 seconds. 4. 3. She squeezed the trigger. Silence. Then, ping. Dead center. Instructors looked stunned. Someone whispered, "Who the hell is this woman?" Stone didn't react, just nodded once. Later, the candidates gathered for chow. Madison sat alone, eating stew in silence. One of the larger men, Harrison, a former Marine scout sniper, approached. "You shoot like my nightmares," he said. She glanced up. "You have nightmares often?" He smirked and sat across from her. Only when they bring in ghosts. I'm not a ghost, just raised different. Different how? She paused. Montana, middle of nowhere. Dad taught me to read wind by pine needles swaying, judge distance by crow flight patterns. He said if I ever missed, it meant I didn't respect the shot. Harrison leaned back, impressed. That evening, Stone found her cleaning her rifle, humming an old country song. You came out swinging, he said. I didn't come to lose. He nodded. You've got your father's instincts. Madison looked up. You knew him? I served with him, back when he saved 6 men in Helmand before rotating home. He talked about his daughter, said she had steadier hands than his. Madison's breath caught. He said I'd outshoot him someday. You already did. Stone smiled for the first time. For the next week, Madison trained like her life depended on it. The program was unlike anything she'd imagined, not basic training or advanced military instruction. Something sharper, tailored for operators in shadows. Every drill was designed to break habits, eliminate hesitation, demand precision under pressure. Sleep was minimal, stress constant, but Madison never cracked. By day 4, others stopped underestimating her. Harrison offered respectful nods. 2 others invited her to practice off hours. Stone kept his distance, appearing during final drills to observe. When Madison shot, his attention sharpened. The final simulation was brutal. Hostage scenario, live ammunition, real terrain. 12 operators split into 4 teams. Madison was paired with Harrison and Nash, a former Air Force controller. Their objective? Infiltrate Mock Village, locate hostage, neutralize threats, extract within 12 minutes. Nash handled surveillance. Harrison provided overwatch. Madison moved alone through underbrush, silent and calculated. She spotted reflection in a second-story window and calculated the angle. Nearly impossible shot, obstructed, backlit, partial visibility. She didn't hesitate. Dropping flat, she adjusted for elevation and glare, calculated wind by a leaf fluttering beside her cheek, and fired. Window exploded. Kill confirmed. She moved quickly after, marking enemies precisely. When the hostage was secured, timer stopped. 11 minutes, 34 seconds. 0 casualties, 0 friendly fire. Top score. When simulation ended, instructors gathered candidates. A senior evaluator read scores. Some passed, others didn't. Madison stood in the second row, helmet tucked under her arm, expression unreadable. Then Stone stepped forward. For a long moment, he said nothing, scanning the line. Then he walked directly toward Madison. The atmosphere shifted. She looked up, confused, and straightened. Stone stopped a few feet away. No words, just a slow, deliberate motion as he removed his cap, squared his shoulders, and raised his hand into a full military salute. Other candidates fell silent. This wasn't ceremony. It was respect. Madison didn't move at first. Then she slowly lifted her hand and returned the salute, clean and sharp, like her father taught her. When it ended, Stone stepped back and said 3 words. You're not done. Then he walked away. Later, a sealed envelope was slid under her door. Inside, a plane ticket, security badge, and brief letter signed with 1 word. Welcome. No unit name, just coordinates marking her next step. She folded the letter slowly, heart pounding but calm. No ceremony, no medals, just purpose. She opened her rifle case and cleaned it under her bedside lamp. Each stroke reminded her of home, Arizona skies, her father's workshop, his voice. You were never meant to be ordinary, Madison. Now the world would discover why. Madison stepped off a small aircraft into a world that didn't exist on maps. The landing strip was hidden in Appalachian wilderness, surrounded by forest and silence. A black vehicle met her at the tarmac. The driver wore no uniform, just mirrored sunglasses and a scar across his neck. They drove an hour through winding roads before trees opened to a compound unlike any she'd seen. It wasn't traditionally military. Older, quieter, designed to stay invisible. No insignias, no flags, just gravel paths, high fencing, watchtowers, and advanced surveillance. Inside, she was greeted by a sharp-eyed woman in her late 40s. Codename Iron Sight from now on, the woman said, handing her a key card. You don't use your real name unless we authorize it. Madison nodded. You're training operatives, not soldiers, not agents. People we deploy where others can't go. What you teach might keep someone alive behind lines you'll never see. The next days were intense orientation. She met 2 other instructors, Storm, former CIA, and Phoenix, ex-Delta Force who spoke in riddles. They formed a triangle: field tactics, intelligence evasion, precision warfare. Madison was the 3rd component. She wasn't there to create killers, but to save lives by teaching others to eliminate threats before they developed. Her students weren't regular military. They were specialists, some wounded, some retired, others transitioning. A few arrived on canes. One had a prosthetic leg, but all had something burning in their eyes, something raw that hadn't died on battlefields. They called themselves the Lost. Stone wasn't officially part of the facility, but his presence loomed. Weekly, he flew in to observe quietly. During her 3rd week, one veteran, Tucker, who'd lost his arm in Syria, struggled with long-range shots. Recoil threw him off balance. Other instructors had given up. Madison didn't. She stayed after hours, modified his rifle grip, adjusted his support, taught him to time breathing with his heartbeat, something her father showed her. 3 days later, Tucker hit perfect bullseye and cried. Not because of the shot, but because someone believed he could still contribute. Word spread. Others lined up for her sessions, not because she was famous or barked orders, but because she saw them, each not as broken, but unfinished. By her 2nd month, the facility had its first perfect simulation run. Her students exceeded expectations, her methods were documented, her legacy forming. Still, she remained quiet, never asked for recognition, never sought spotlight. Her father once said, "True warriors don't chase glory. They carry silence like armor." She was proving that one student at a time. Winter struck hard. The facility was half buried under snow, but training continued. Real threats didn't pause for weather. The next assignment was different: evaluation. A joint operation simulation with live ammunition, split teams, full tactical immersion. Madison stood behind her team. She didn't speak. She observed. The operation began before dawn. Her team, Tucker, Nash, and Harrison, moved as one. Madison was embedded only as observer, but her presence stabilized everything. Tucker climbed the ridge with one arm, reached Overwatch, sent silent signals. Nash and Harrison infiltrated, cleared rooms under fog cover. Wind shifted. Madison didn't speak, but Tucker made the correction automatically. Fired once. Threat neutralized. 10 minutes later, Nash located the hostage and signaled extraction. Perfect execution. Timer stopped. 18 minutes, 27 seconds. No casualties, all targets eliminated. That evening, Stone walked into the hangar. Madison stood in back, expecting nothing. She had no rank, no title, just a clipboard and rifle that smelled like Arizona wind. Room quieted as Stone took center. He addressed trainees briefly about precision and improvements. Then his gaze found hers. He walked toward her. No ceremony, just boots on concrete. Madison straightened. He stopped 2 feet away, looked at her with pride and reverence, and without a word raised his hand into a full military salute. Room went silent. The gesture echoed louder than applause. It wasn't protocol or scripted. It was respect. The kind given not to superiors, but to legends. Madison held the salute, then returned it crisp and steady. Something shifted. People stood taller. Even instructors looked changed. Later, she sat outside as snow fell on her rifle case. Harrison joined her with coffee. "I saw that salute," he said. She nodded. So did everyone. "You know what it meant?" She looked toward trees. It meant he doesn't need to explain anymore. From that night forward, no one questioned her place. Not among warriors, not among ghosts, not in shadows where she helped train others to survive. Because when a colonel salutes a civilian sniper, the world listens, even if no one speaks. Madison Brooks, codenamed Ironsight, never wore official uniform, never swore an oath, never held military rank. Yet whispers about her traveled through federal offices and war rooms like wildfire. Not because of what she accomplished in combat, but because of what she gave others power to achieve. Her students, many thought finished by the system, were now part of something bigger, a new kind of unit. Quiet, precise, Unofficial. The kind governments denied existed. The kind that prevented things from making headlines. Iron Sight's program became backbone of Project Nightfall, a classified branch for specialists who didn't fit traditional molds. Veterans with injuries, former agents with PTSD, young prodigies with talent but no direction. Madison's role wasn't creating killers, but showing them how to control what they possessed, and use it only when nothing else worked. It wasn't about the weapon. It was about the decision behind the trigger. One of her earliest students, Tucker, was now embedded overseas. Nash had transferred to DC for Homeland Security training. Word reached Madison through encrypted channels, brief confirmations, field reports. She never responded with praise, just acknowledgement, and continued work. One evening, Stone found her reviewing footage of a drill gone wrong. "You still take it personally," he observed. "They depend on me to get it right. If I miss something, they carry that mistake into the field." Stone placed a folded paper beside her. "That's why they'd follow you into hell." She opened it. A letter from one of her graduates. "Still alive because of what you taught me. You changed the outcome." "You didn't sign your name," Stone added. "Didn't ask for credit. But the world's safer because you stayed in shadows." Madison looked up. "What happens when shadows grow darker?" He smiled faintly. "Then they'll need you even more." Project Nightfall received quiet funding from a classified panel, thanks to testimonials and one unexpected element. Anonymous video footage, grainy black and white from Arizona. A woman lying prone in desert dirt, rifle steady, wind tugging her braid. 5 perfect shots. Dead center. No sound except precision's crack. No face shown, no name given. But every panel member agreed. Whoever she was needed to keep training America's best. That's how Iron Sight became legend. Not with rank or medals, but with accuracy and impact. The Arizona desert hadn't changed. Same cracked earth, same winds, same rusted fence around the range where it all began. But people had stories now about a woman who used to arrive mornings before the sun got hot, lie down in lane 9, and shoot like time stood still. Frank still kept her lane empty, swept it clean weekly, though she hadn't returned in years. One day, a young girl showed up. Freckles, maybe 13, holding a hunting rifle too big for her frame. "You here to shoot?" Frank asked. The girl nodded. "My uncle said someone trained here once. A woman who could shoot impossible distances. Said she changed people's lives." Frank handed her ear protection and gestured toward lane 9. The girl froze when she saw it. A photo taped behind the target posts. Black and white, faded, showing a silhouette of a woman prone, rifle aimed downrange. Underneath, scrawled in ink, "If you're reading this, aim steady, breathe slow, and make it count. Iron Sight." The girl didn't know who Iron Sight was, but she lowered herself into dust, lined up her rifle, and tried. Far away, on a snow-covered slope in Norway, Madison Brooks watched wind patterns through a spotting scope. She was mobile now, teaching NATO units, refining programs, evaluating models for teams the world never acknowledged. She stayed out of spotlights, always moving, never remaining too long. But her influence was everywhere, in steadier hands of trainees who no longer flinched, in silence before bullets flew true, in how warriors breathed under pressure. She received an encrypted message from Harrison. Tucker promoted to team leader on JSOC mission. She smiled. That same quiet smile after hitting perfect shots. One more student making it home. Later, a general she'd never met flew in just to shake her hand. "I've never seen an instructor turn ghosts into guardians. You do it like it's nothing." She didn't answer, just nodded and returned to her scope. That night, Madison sat alone by a campfire, sipping cold coffee, staring at endless stars. For a moment, she heard her father's voice in mountain wind. "Not bad, Madison. Not bad at all." She looked at the infinite sky and finally allowed herself a breath she hadn't taken in years. Not relief, not rest, just peace. She didn't need headlines or awards or to be remembered, because the truth was simple. She already was. In every trainee who steadied their scope. In every soldier who didn't break under fire. In every lost warrior who found a way forward. In every perfect shot that echoed long after sound faded. Madison Brooks was never just practicing. She was preparing the world for those who could save it.